All right, the report is out as to how much Hurricane Michael helped or hurt red tide here on the Suncoast.
I know this was something everyone was looking forward to. Our Marla Spence joins us now in the newsroom with the latest on this story. Marla.
Hey, Jess and Ray, yeah, there's been much speculation that Hurricane Michael could have helped this year's red tide outbreak, considering some low concentrations of the toxic algae bloom on the Sun Coast since Michael. Now, this is the latest red tide report from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission. It says, and it shows, much lower concentrations over much of the coastline since Michael. Now, the bloom concentrations of red tide also decreased in Manatee County, showing only low or very low levels of red tide. In Sarasota County, high concentrations of the bloom were also found only at one site near New Pass, and there were also some reports of dead fish. Now, we did speak to a senior scientist at Mote Marine Laboratory on whether or not Hurricane Michael helped ease the effects of red tide.
Well, what we know is the anticyclonic motion of the winds as it was approaching were primarily offshore, so it blew the effects of the red tide and a lot of the organisms in the surface water away from the shore. So yes, we did see the effects and the red tide actually leaving the area, but actually just moving offshore. As it passed, the winds came back onto shore, and we found that the red tide and the effects of it came back with it. Not as intensive as it was, thank goodness, but still here.
And Dr. Richard Pierce with Mote Marine Laboratory tells us Hurricane Michael wasn't close enough to disperse the bloom totally. He says red tide is still around but patchy, and says it all depends on winds. He also says if winds continue offshore, we won't be feeling much of the effects of red tide.